Hey there folks, hope you're doing well. I thought we would do a little bit of a video log because I haven't actually shown you a great deal of Japan, and I've come to one of my little favourite spots that I found a little while ago here in Miyako up in Iwate Prefecture where I now live, and today is actually 7 months exactly since I moved to Japan. I arrived here on Friday, March the 20th of this year, and 7 months already. And I arrived pretty much 6 hours before they closed the border. First things first, if the footage for this is a little bit shaky and you're not expecting it to look like this, maybe you was expecting something a bit more professional, well, the short answer is that I don't at the moment have that kind of professional equipment, so this has been done on my phone. So hopefully it's okay though. And I'm sure you'll appreciate the sights. This is the beautiful riverside walk, which in the spring, these being obviously cherry blossom trees, will look absolutely amazing. So the reason for this vlog is because I need to update you with some of the things and some of the changes that are happening on the channel, and also a little bit how that affects Patreon, as well as sort of things in general. So yes, I've been here for 7 months, and the adjustment has been okay. I've definitely struggled with a few things. The language barrier is a massive one. Even though I study virtually 6 days out of 7, continuously reviewing vocabulary, grammar, practicing, speaking, writing, is this hard. And so there have been many things that have been hard to adjust to. So just to set the scene, when I left the UK, it wasn't just to do this for a year or two and then return back to my old career. Those days are gone. I am never ever going back to what I used to do in web development or anything to do with IT. So essentially, really, the only other skills that I have to fall back on at the moment are going back into sales or clerical work. You're sort of, well, it's probably a little bit better paid, but I can't imagine much so, but your sort of stereotypical 13 grand a year sort of jobs, as it were, which I used to do 15 odd years ago. So I need to retrain, because being an ALT is not going to be a forever job. I'm enjoying it. It's definitely a good change of pace for me, and it's given me the time to obviously learn the language and also hopefully start building up my illustration and drawing skills and so forth, which have been sorely neglected for many years. Now, this leads us into a bit of a dilemma, because I have to get my language skills up to the standard where I potentially can go to university or a technical college here in Japan to train properly as a Manga sort of style illustrator, and that which may help me get connections and so forth, and further my career, whether that is in any longer term sense here in Japan or whether it's returning back to the UK at some point. So obviously I need time to be able to practice those skills, to improve them, because if I don't improve them, then I'm not likely to get in somewhere. So the next 2.5 years or so are the ideal time to do that kind of thing. So obviously I need to have time to practice and learn the language, and it's going to take a hell of a monumental effort to get it up to the standard that it needs to be, really, in 2.5 years' time, but we'll give it a go. Feeding into this is obviously I want to carry on doing YouTube. I enjoy doing it, it's good fun, it's a good creative outlet. But there's no doubt that the past 7 months, the adjustment period of getting used to living in Japan, at least being able to understand a little bit of what's going on from time to time, and just generally the adjustment period, have taken longer than I expected, and therefore I perhaps haven't produced the content that I expected to. On arriving here, I expected to be able to show you much more of Japan, for example. As you can see, if I turn this way a moment, so yeah, I live in the boonies up in Iwate. So we're going to carry on walking down this track here. In fact, actually, we're going to go along the road for a little bit, but it's so peaceful here that it's going to look very nice, and we'll do a little bit of a loop walk. So yes, I haven't been able to show as much of Japan as I wanted to start with, just because the adjustment has taken a lot longer than expected. I've had my moments where I've felt a little bit ill at ease with myself, shall we say. And one of the big issues that I've got is the financial side of things. Now, obviously, as time goes on, this gets a little bit more difficult as more people get to know me. Occasionally, I do get these comments on YouTube which says that because I make it known that I'm on Patreon, that I'm an e-beggar. Now, obviously, I don't necessarily think it would be a good idea to give money to somebody to do absolutely nothing. So I'm hoping that what I do for my Patreons is some kind of return. But there's no doubt about it that I cannot survive basically without actually beginning to sell some of my artwork, and also likewise being able to be on Patreon and so forth, and actually provide some benefit to my patrons. And I don't feel that I've done quite enough or as much as I can or potentially am able to do on Patreon. So a little bit about that soon. But the bottom line is that my money here in Japan is ideally to go towards my future education and so forth, be that at university or a technical college, which isn't going to be cheap. We're talking around about 700,000, I think I've got that right, yen a year. And on average, I expect to be able to hopefully save in the region of about 600,000 yen out of my ALT salary. So fair old bit to save up for that potential study. So that's why I try to keep my Japanese money very separate to my outgoings in the UK, of which I still have some. And whilst I'm very fortunate to be in a position where I actually do own my apartment in the UK, albeit with a mortgage on it, it is rented out. And but sadly, with various costs like storing my belongings, other incidental costs like paying for a subscription that I can use royalty-free music, and also the maintenance fees on my apartment because it's a leasehold, so which are exorbitant at the moment. I have a deficit in the region of about £430 a month. Now, I managed to save a bit of money some years ago from when I used to work as a wedding photographer. I basically had my full-time job in the day, and then I worked pretty much all the other hours of my life as a wedding photographer. So I've been lucky that that's obviously been able to fund me being able to come to Japan and to hopefully be able to survive. But the problem is that money has dwindled a lot quicker than expected. Some necessary electrical works had to be done to my apartment because obviously I was renting it out, and therefore different standards apply if you're renting something out to if you're living in it yourself. There's been some repairs that have been needed, and thus basically the money has run out about a year and a half sooner than expected, which has been monumentally stressful. So it sort of puts a bit of pressure on me because obviously I have no intention of returning back to the career I used to in the UK. So say I only did this for a year and I had to go back in March, well, who knows? But I have nothing else to fall back onto, and I don't really want to, if I can avoid it, move money from Japan back to the UK, because obviously that would mean that future education and so forth could potentially be impacted by that. And trying to make obviously the artwork that I do popular has driven me to perhaps do videos that I felt would be more popular on the channel. But to be honest with you, I think there's loads of people already doing them, and there's nothing particularly unique about me doing sort of walk animation cycles and so forth. But the thing is with them is that they do take a long time to produce because I like to do them well. And the problem is it puts so much pressure on my life that whatever I'm doing, I'm always feeling guilty about that I'm spending too much time either studying Japanese, or that I'm not studying Japanese, or that I'm spending too much time doing pixel art and then not doing pixel art. And it's just this sort of mental torture almost in my mind of what I should and shouldn't be spending my time on. So I need to refocus the channel a bit, because I've got to basically make time for me to be able to study Japanese. I've got to try and obviously make the artwork I create better and more enticing and so forth, which requires time. But likewise, I don't want to alienate my patrons, who obviously care very much about the style of artwork that I create. And so basically, bit of a catch-22 going on. So yes, I need to refocus the channel a bit to basically ensure that I have enough time to study Japanese, to get my skills up to a standard where they should be in 2 to 3 years time, hopefully. I need to be able to spend time improving my artwork skills and so forth, so that I can become just a better artist, but also so that I can actually make more enticing wares that could be sold and so forth. And and I still want to be able to run YouTube, but on the other hand, I still need to fix the financial situation in the UK rapidly. So obviously I could make some kind of video which is about me saying woe is me. Well, actually no, not at all. What I've been working on is some plans that basically improve things, and then with a bit of luck it would make a much more enticing channel to watch and so forth, and just build the audience really. So this is what's going to happen. The focus of this channel is going to be on my adventures here in Japan going forwards. I have actually spent some money on some second-hand kit, which is going to allow me to do some better quality level of vlogging and so forth here in Japan. And I'm going to combine basically my trips around beautiful places like this. Isn't it amazing? Just look at all of it around here. And people miss all of this to spend their holidays in Tokyo and Kyoto. Come to Tohoku, guys, it's amazing. Anyway, so that it's going to focus much more on my adventures in places like this and how it affects my artwork, because all of this inspires me. I love looking at places like this. It's just so beautiful, and I want to be able to show you how that inspires my pixel art, my hand-drawn art, which is predominantly manga style, but it could be anything. And I want to just, create vlogs which are much more interesting, not about like, oh, this is my apartment necessarily, or 10 things not to do in Japan, because there's plenty of videos already doing that. That's not what I intend on doing. I want to show you Japan through my eyes, how I perceive it, and how it changes my artwork. So yes, the pixel art is not going to go away from this channel, but I'm going to move on to subjects which are unique to my situation here in Japan, and through that will come some tips and advice and so forth, and so that's going to be all good. So don't think it's all going to disappear, the pixel art and so forth. Now, in terms of what's going to happen to some of the other content, like for example, I do quite a bit of gaming related content, pickups, I do stuff about the amazing Amiga operating system, for example. Well, I've set up a secondary channel which is going to have that kind of content on. It's going to be a little bit less well produced in the future, because obviously I want to be able to get it out rapidly when I've created a game review or something, or when I've created a system review or something along those lines, because the message will be more important than how slick it looks. I'll save the slick productions for this main channel, as it were, so that the quality stays there. But if I try and maintain a level of quality across the board with all of my quirks of my situation, shall we say, I'm going to have no time to be able to learn Japanese and also do all the artwork and so forth. It's just not possible. So instead of sacrificing it all together, I'll just have a secondary channel where you can expect things to be a little bit more roughly edited and so forth, but the core message will be good, and at least the camera will be the right way up. So that will be obviously linked in the video description, but it's going to be Pixel Vixen backstage. So this does mean that there are going to be some things that are going to be paused, at least just for the time being. Let's just have a look over here for a minute. Yeah. So this is... get the camera the right way up. Ironic, I was just saying that. So this does mean that series like the Amazing Amiga, I'm just going to pause that for the time being, because those were meant to be quick win videos, but unfortunately refreshing my memory on how to do ARX coding and many other subjects is requiring many hours of investment, and I want to do them properly, so I'm pausing that just for the time being. And the gaming content, like I say, is just going to move on to the secondary channel. It also does mean, as I sort of mentioned a few moments ago, that the more generic pixel art tutorials like walk animations, tile maps and so forth, I'm going to pause those for the time being and just signpost you to tutorials that I know are already on YouTube that do an amazing job. And the reason for that is because I don't feel that I can really add anything so unique to these other videos, if I'm utterly honest. I feel that there's some very good tutorials out there, and if I'm honest, the kind of content that those tutorials contain could be done in a shed in Kettering. They don't require me to be in Japan to do them, so it seems to be me to be more important to actually show you much more about how Japan is influencing my pixel art, okay, and the various tips that come through it. So you see something that's a lot more unique and a lot more interesting, quite frankly. And also, I'm going to be restarting the streams on Twitch at least once a month, hopefully twice a month. That's going to have some really exciting new content, which includes maybe gaming pickups, just general chit chat, maybe some game reviews or gameplay, game pickups, all that kind of stuff, as well as stuff that my Patreons have been sending in. So on Patreon, I'm enhancing that by starting new bi-weekly challenges, where I set a challenge like maybe. This week or this fortnight's challenge is an 8-colour piece of pixel art on this subject or on this character or this that kind of thing, and I'll be able to share advice, compliments, all that kind of good stuff basically about people's artwork, which is going to be really exciting actually. Okay, so Patreon's going to have bi-weekly challenges. I'm also going to have Patreon Q&As, which can be just about life here in Japan in general, but also, advice on their pixel art and so forth, those kinds of topics and so forth. And that should be really interesting. Patrons will also be seeing, depending on the tier that they're on, one-to-one tutoring sessions and so forth, so do check that out, where I'm more than happy to give you lots of insider tips on how to do pixel art and all sorts of wonderful things like that, so that will be really good fun. So basically I'm just really making things better, if you ask me, just making sure that the focus is better. As I say, it does mean a couple of things are being dropped, but the end result is that I think it's going to make it a much more enjoyable channel, and ultimately what I hope that does is it means that it brings an increased audience, and whilst monetising this channel is never going to solve my financial constraints with my situation in the UK, it will at least perhaps open up people's eyes to the artwork that I create whilst I'm improving those skills. And I'm not standing here or walking here rather saying I'm the big I am, I know everything there is about all of this. The whole reason of making sure that I have time to do more artwork is so that I can actually improve those skills. And I want to be honest about it, what challenges I face and so forth. But by opening up what I do, it does mean that hopefully I will be able to potentially sell more t-shirts and other wares, because ultimately really that's what's going to dig me out of the problem I have in the UK, and and I just hope that happens really through me improving the kind of output that I have. So it does mean that for the time being, things like the pixel art consoles and computer systems, retro systems that I've been doing, that's going to stop just for the time being. There's obviously a surge of demand because obviously there's a bit of a pent-up demand for them, but obviously that's levelled off now, and by levelled off I mean they're not selling any at all. So I need to focus my energies on more wider ranging tastes, shall we say, some of which are nothing to do with retro gaming or computing and stuff like that, just to sort of make sure that I'm allocating my time where I frankly need to spend it at the moment. So but I think overall it's going to make it so much better, because you're going to get to see much more of this beautiful country that's all around me here. And last thing I wanted to mention is that I have 2 more videos which are not to do with the channel's new sort of focus, as it were, which were in production before. Obviously, I actually settled on these changes. So coming up soon on this channel will be the Amiga 1200 video, where myself and a few other of the Amiga community will talk about their love for the wonderful Commodore Amiga 1200 computer. And secondly, a video about how much Seiko Saturn you can get for the equivalent of £100 here in Japan. So just to quickly recap, yes, this channel's staying where it is. Focus will be on Japan and its effect on my artwork, mostly pixel art and manga style drawings, but who knows what kind of artwork will come out of it. But yeah, vlogs about all the exciting and interesting places that I visit in Japan. 2, the Pixel Vixen backstage channel which has been started will feature the gaming related content, the retro system related content in the whole, more casual vlogs that are just like off the cuff thoughts. Basically, slightly less well produced stuff that I can just get out quickly and get the message across, rather than me spending absolutely hours trying to perfect everything in Final Cut. Twitter's been separated out somewhat, so the main Pixel Vixen Twitter will just focus on, again, the main focus of the channel, so that'll be pixel art, artwork, manga, all that kind of stuff from Japan. There will be another Twitter account, Pixel Vixen Backstage on Twitter, which is for people who are just a bit more interested in the inside track of what's going on here. And number 5, Patreon has been vastly improved with improved benefits for basically the same money kind of thing. So any existing Patreon is actually going to get a few extra perks. Oh, and number 6, the streams will be restarting on Twitch. So obviously all those links will be in the video description below. I hope you found that useful. But from the 16th of November, the focus of the channel is going to shift, as I say, to squarely about Japan, the vlogs, and how it affects the artwork and so forth. And I think it's going to make it very interesting. And then all of the other stuff will go onto the secondary channel for the time being. So, yeah, I guess all remains for me to say is see you soon. Peace. So, it's come to that part of the video where I mention that I'm on Patreon. From as little as $2 a month, you can get early access to content, exclusive artwork through the post, your name mentioned on videos, as well as tips that I don't publish to the public. You can find a link in the video description below. Your subscription to my channel will also help me ensure that I can bring the latest content here from Japan.